Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited, so very excited to bring back show reviews on my channel. If you're a real one and you've been here for a while, you know that I started my channel on show reviews, specifically Never Have I Ever was like my first one. And today I want to talk about the show Heartbreak High Season 2. I am admittedly very late to the show. I had heard of the show, but also I hadn't really heard much about the show. But once I heard that the lead in the show was South Asian, I was like, ooh, gotta support my people left and right. And because I knew it was getting a second season, I decided to put off the first season until the second season was about to come out because I wanted to watch it all at once. So I spent the last few days binging both seasons, and there is so much to unpack. I do think it's an underrated show. Like, I haven't seen marketing for it really, and I think it has a diverse set of characters and storylines, and I do think that it represents Gen Z fairly well. Like, I think it has the drama and edge that Euphoria goes for, but it's also realistically very awkward and stupid at times. It feels like Australian sex education, and I love sex education, so this is a really fun show. While I consume a lot of media and talk about it on this channel while balancing a job, I find it really important to make time for my hobbies as well. And that can be really hard when I'm trying something or learning something new for the first time, which is why I am super excited to talk about today's video sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry pros across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. And Skillshare also has many classes related to creative hobbies like painting, sketching, and photography. You can just browse through their classes to find the one for you, explore the different learning paths they have, or search for something you're specifically looking for. If you're like me and you have all these different interests that you've always wanted to explore, then you can invest in yourself and pick up new hobbies by learning some new skills on an on-demand platform like Skillshare. I personally love painting and have never really gotten structure around learning that, so I'm really enjoying Lori Ann Gonzalez's acrylic painting for beginners class through the Explore Acrylic Painting as an absolute beginner learning path. And it feels like I'm finally learning more painting techniques. It's become a really mindful and stress-relieving hobby for me, and something that gives me creative fulfillment while also helping me make some solid decorative pieces for my home. You can also get started exploring your different interests on Skillshare if you click the link in my bio. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial to Skillshare. So click that link and get started with Skillshare today. So Heartbreak High, if you are unfamiliar with this show, it is about a group of students in year 11 at an Australian high school, specifically about the main character, Emery Wadia. Season 1 focused on the fallout between Emery and her best friend Harper, taking the whole season to piece together a very intense night that led to their fallout. In parallel to this going on, all the students in year 11 have to attend this mandatory sex education class nicknamed Sleuths, because the whole school found out about this wall mural that Emery and Harper had made detailing all the hookups and relationships between the students in their year. And a lot happens in the first season, but major plot points to go over. Malachi and Emery, although they dated, are broken up but amicable at the end of the season. We learn at the end of the season that Harper was really mad at Emery because the two of them went to a music festival together, and Emery had told Harper that she could sleep over at her place. And when Harper had had a very intense night of being roofied, kidnapped, and nearly assaulted, and finally escaped and went to Emery's house, Emery did not let her in. And because of that, Harper had to go to her own house where her dad was using drugs, and then he tried to kill her. Which, like, if you've watched season 1, I get why they fought, but I also don't. Like, I get it, but I don't. Emery absolutely should have let Harper in, but also Emery knew nothing about Harper's dad. Also, she knew nothing about the night that Harper had had. Like, Emery absolutely needed to apologize, but damn, Harper, like, cut her out of her life, had punched her in the face, had gone after the guy that she had liked for years, then slept with her boyfriend. Like, damn. Also, Malachi, high for the first time, had just been brutally assaulted by a police officer, and Harper and Dusty took him back to one of their places and had a threesome with him. Like, consent where? Anyway, at the start of season 2, Harper and Emery have made up, so Harper, Emery, Darren, and Quinny are a friend group. Dusty has moved to an all-boys school, and this season explores the mystery of Bird Psycho, this member of their student body who's been targeting Emery. And I want to first talk about all the things I liked, starting with Quinny. I love Quinny. She's one of my favorite characters. I feel like they really gave her character the liberty to be a little messier this season with her conflict with Darren and the rest of the friend group. I hope they're able to flesh that out a bit more in season 3, because it seems like they might explore more of her figuring out her identity and what unmasking means for her. I also do love her because she's a real one. The fact that she got a snake bite for Emery and also saved her life, like, get you a friend like Quinny. I also loved what they did with Cash and Darren as a couple. So Cash was an Eshe, and he was the driver of the car that Harper woke up in when she was kidnapped, but he helped her escape and get her proof. He started out the season in prison and got out and had hoped to escape that life. And we saw him explore healthier relationships and finding friendships and community that brings him to quit being an Eshe. You know I love a found family trope, and I just love that he finds that this season. His Nan is also so iconic. I love her. Her scenes were such a highlight. And as for Darren and Cash together as a couple, they're so cute. It was really interesting to see conflict or a clash between two people in a relationship where one person is asexual and one isn't. I mean, the fact that Cash is asexual in a male character, and also the show explores what that means for him in a relationship. I've never seen those three things really explored in any other TV show, so I really appreciate that. I felt it was really realistic to show the both of them sort of resenting themselves for their differences, but also making the point that it's not either of their faults, and also that it's not something they can or should change. I also wanted to give smaller shout outs to one, the principal Woodsy, either on her own or with JoJo. I think they nailed the comedy there. And two, I just really appreciate the fact that Amory is just unapologetically herself throughout the whole show, and that she is a brown girl lead character, but the show doesn't really revolve around her identity or her struggling with accepting her identity. I just love seeing a character who's a brown girl with storylines that don't have anything to do with that, and she can just exist the way that other characters do. So now I sort of want to move on to things I had more conflicting feelings on, starting with Anthony and Harper. So this season, Anthony and Harper become really good friends, and Anthony develops feelings for Harper, but Harper doesn't reciprocate those feelings. I really enjoyed seeing their friendship. I think it's really endearing and really sweet. Also, Anthony didn't get a lot of screen time in season 1. Like, he was very one-dimensional because he wasn't explored all that much, but this season we got to see who he really is as a person, so that was cool. However, I think both Harper and Anthony's characters individually were sort of wasted potential this season. Like, Harper calls out the fact that he just follows whatever Spencer does, and that being a good guy takes actual calls to actions and not just words. I would have liked to see more of that develop for him, or see that more fleshed out, because I think they did do a little with it, but also, like, I wanted more. Although I will say he gave some of my favorite line deliveries this season. Like, what was a line? Oh yeah, Spider was telling him that they should tell the girls that they like how they feel with their words, and he was like, yeah, shit, bro, like, radical honesty, bruh. With Harper, we saw her really struggle at the beginning of the season because she was pursuing legal action for being kidnapped and nearly assaulted. She was also in the process of getting emancipated, living with Amory, had no money. But we don't really see how she deals with that or how she emotionally recovers from that past the first few episodes, besides her getting her driver's license and an apartment. Like, they did a little bit with the aftermath of season 1 for her, but also not a lot. I feel like we really zoomed past what had happened with her pursuing legal action. And so Harper ended up being a character that was more for other characters' storylines this season, rather than really having much of her own to do. But I am interested to see where she and Anthony go in season 3. The other thing I have mixed feelings on is Spencer. So this man, we don't like this man. We're not supposed to like this man. He is an incel. He's a dude bro that thinks being woke or like a decent human being just rejects the existence of cis men. But then he starts seeing Missy and developing genuine feelings for her. He starts really listening to her, and then he starts wanting to change. We also do get a bit more context into his home life, like how his mom has really messed with his head in terms of what it means to be a man and stuff. Like, she's straight up said that she's disappointed that he isn't a girl or gay, and that she's afraid he's gonna hurt or SA women, which just causes performance anxiety, but also this extreme objection to anything even remotely feminist, because really the idea of feminism that he's been fed all his life by his mother isn't really feminism. And so we actually do sympathize with him, but also I feel like this show did take it a little too far with him at multiple points of the show, to the point where I'm like, am I rooting for him? Because he gets super angry at the way that JoJo runs her class, and then spearheads a walkout with other men and names them the Corn Lords, as I would call it for YouTube. It's basically a Meninist equivalent of JoJo's sex education class. Also, let's not forget that he did work with Dusty to make that false allegation against JoJo about having relations with Amory. Like, he said and done a lot of terrible things. And as much as the show tried to not make it seem like it, he really did sort of only try to change for a girl. Like, Missy calls this out, so then he becomes an asshole again, and then only realizes he doesn't want to be like that anymore when Mr. Voss takes it too far, but he still only started wanting to change because of Missy. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think, let me know how you guys feel. As for his reform arc, we'll see how that plays out. Now on to the things I didn't really like this season. I feel like we missed out a lot on the parents this season. Like, we saw more of Darren's dad, Amory's mom, etc. last season, whereas this season we only really got Spencer's mom. Like, I did have questions on how Darren's parents let them move out of the house, where I don't think they're 18. I think only Cash is 18. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. I just remember that in season 1, one of the storylines was Darren mending their relationship with their father and that getting better, so I would have loved to see that through this season, but we didn't get Darren's dad at all. Also, something I didn't like this season, Sasha. Sasha pissed me off this season. On top of just being terrible, she really gave performative activist, and at the same time, the writers never really did anything else with her, so they kind of did her dirty. It seems like they did try to give her a bit of redemption at the end because she helped out Quinny with finding the bird psycho and helped Emery. But I don't know about you, but I felt like her character was very one note this season, not really multi-dimensional. Another thing I didn't like, and this one might be picky, but it did make me mad, everyone hates on Amory in a way that singles her out every time. Like, every character has done something like terribly wrong and everyone's just super messy, and yet everyone gets more mad when Amory does something. Like, for the map in season 1, she got blamed way more than Harper did, even though they were both responsible for that. When Jojo got that false accusation in season 1, it was implied that Amory having so much drama around her contributed to why that happened. At the beginning of this season, I couldn't even understand why everyone was so mad at Amory when she decided to run for class president, because that was before the message boards. And when they went camping, Bird Psycho played out on the speakers this private conversation between Amory, Quinny, and Harper, where they were all talking shit about their peers. And even though Amory wasn't saying most of the stuff that was said, she was singled out still, and everyone was mad at her more than the other two. It very much reminds me of when everyone was loosely throwing around Crazy Davy whenever Davy would do something unhinged and Never Have I Ever. And Davy was unhinged, and Amory can be unhinged in the same way too, but sometimes things happen where I'm like, wait a second, other people were involved in this too. Not to mention the fact that in both seasons at this point, we're set up to believe that Amory did something absolutely horrific to the person who has it out for her, just to find out that that isn't like that at all. In both cases, she made poor decisions led by shame, but she never had any cruel intentions. So my girl Amory is just a punching bag. Lastly, I want to talk about the Rowan of it all and the ending. I watched the majority of season 2 with my friends, and all of us were in agreement as we were watching this together that Malachi and Rowan didn't have much chemistry. Like, they got that teen awkwardness down, but I feel like as far as couples in the show go, they didn't have much chemistry. But then when we found out that Rowan was the bird psycho, we were like, oh wait, this makes sense. Maybe Rowan was just playing Malachi to get to Amory, but also that isn't very clear. The way that I have no idea how to read Rowan's intentions and motives before they flip the switch. He seemed like he did really like Malachi, but then became more and more obsessed with Amory. But also, was that just to get to her? Was that even real? Also, the ending. What do we think, queens? Rowan and Amory's backstory? That was interesting. I'm not really sure why the writers did that and have Rowan have this elaborate backstory with Amory where he blames her for his brother's death when that really is not the case at all. Also wild that he moved away as a kid to get help and then came back immediately obsessed with Amory. Also wild that he seemed completely normal at the end when Amory is like, I did not kill your brother. Like, I'm so sorry. Sorry to this man, but I did not kill him. I did not do that. And he was like, you're right. As if he didn't send her dead birds, threaten her ex, publicly shame her multiple times, and nearly kill her. Like, I'm sorry, what? So I could do without Rowan next season, and I am an Amory defender because the way that she saved him and forgave him after all of that, she's a better person than me. Like, okay, girl boss. So in the very last minutes of this season, the school has blown up. The gym teacher, love how I keep forgetting his name because he's terrible, probably going to jail for blowing up the school. Malachi's moving to Switzerland. That's a lot. I really hope he comes back because I need to know what was in that letter that he wrote for Amory. I need to know. It seems like for next season there's going to be more development between Harper and Anthony and Missy and Spencer. Quinny and Sasha are going to be the student president and vice president. And I'm not really sure if Darren and Cash truly ever resolve their conflict by the end, so I hope we get to see that resolved. And poor Amory, I really hope she doesn't endure more psychological torture next season. I really hope. Honestly, I think that they should full send it and go full Pretty Little Liars, full Gossip Girl with their mysteries, because it seems like they tried to do an overarching mystery for every season, and I think that they should bring camp back. But those are my thoughts on season 2 of Heartbreak High. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do comment on what your thoughts are on this season, whether it's something that I covered or something I didn't. Make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much to Skillshare again for sponsoring this video.